Welcome to Pop-Up Rhetoric, and in this video we get to go through a truly gloves-off political smackdown. This speech is coming at us courtesy of the Iron Lady herself, British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. Now, the great thing about Pop-Up Rhetoric is that you get to see and hear what rhetoric and verbal strategy sounds like in real time. But if you would like to take things a little more slowly and really dissect, word by word, how these speeches are written and how they work, then I invite you to pick up a copy of my book, The Handy Communication Answer Book. Today's analysis, this speech, is contained in this book, and you can find this in bookstores both in person and online. I will include some links to it in the description down below. Now first, if you've checked out some of my other videos and you've been enjoying what you're seeing, please remember to subscribe to my channel. You might also want to head over to my website, laurensergi.com, and subscribe to the newsletter as well. It's a little thing that lets me know how much you're enjoying this and definitely encourages me to keep making more videos. So as I mentioned, today's speech is one that was given by British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. Specifically, we're looking at a little chunk of the speech that she gave at the Conservative Party convention on October 10th, 1980. Now, technically, the speech is titled The Reason Why, but colloquially and more commonly, it's known as The Lady's Not for Turning. That title people adopted based off of one of the most powerful lines in the speech, a line that Thatcher became known for. The piece of the speech that we're looking at today is a section where Thatcher is systematically attacking and destroying her critics. But what I find really interesting is that the critics in question were coming from within her own political party. It was Conservative Party members who disagreed with her leadership and her policy style. Now, a lot of Thatcher's policies were blamed for a great deal of social unrest and unemployment that was occurring at the time. And as you can imagine, this wasn't exactly creating a sense of serenity within the Conservative Party. Now, something you'll notice in this speech is that it's frankly aggressive. Thatcher is going directly after her critics. She's taking them down as individuals. She's destroying their arguments as irrelevant. And while this might seem very confrontational, it's a very, very important part of persuasive speech making. This is such an important rhetorical tactic that Cicero included it as a crucial part of one of his 5 canons of rhetoric, specifically the canon of arrangement or disposito. You can learn more about the canons of rhetoric and the different parts of a speech in my book. This falls under specifically the category of refutation. That's the portion of the speech that she is currently making. She's refuting her opponent's arguments. She's systematically going after them, attacking them, taking them down by using things like logic. So she'll present logical arguments as to why her opponents are wrong. She will attack their ethos. She's going to attack their character. And she's also going to use certain turns of phrases and different vocabulary and word plays in order to make her arguments seem much stronger, much more impactful, and be much more memorable for the people who are listening to them. So those are the devices that we're going after today. These devices that help us create a direct attack against arguments being leveled at us and ways of making our words more impactful and more memorable. I will go over the devices right away, and just to warn you in advance, there are an awful lot of them. So don't worry, we'll go after them one by one, and I'll make sure that I include their descriptions down in the description below so that you don't need to be constantly referring back to this part of the video. The devices that we're exploring in today's speech are refutation. As I said, this entire section of this speech is a refutation, where you destroy your opponent's arguments through a variety of rhetorical and oratorical, that's the way you say things, devices and strategies. Ad hominem. Many of us are familiar with the ad hominem attack. It is incredibly popular online and in social media. This is an attack on someone's character. It's used to dismiss the validity of a person's argument based on a personal character flaw that they might have. Now, with an ad hominem attack, you aren't really attacking or disproving their argument directly. You're attacking them on a personal level so that the people listening to you see that individual as being unreasonable in general. Apodioxis. This is dismissing a person or their argument as being untrue, wicked, unnecessary, or ridiculous. Apophasis, where you bring up a subject by denying it or by saying that other people shouldn't bring it up. Now, it can also be used to define something by saying what it is not. A really famous apophasis in advertising is the soft drink 7-Up's slogan, the Uncola. They were defining what 7-Up was by focusing on the fact that it wasn't cola. They used an apophasis. Chiasmus, repeating a clause or an idea in inverted order. This is a really memorable way to contrast two ideas by flipping around your words, flipping around the way you describe one idea to then describe the next one. It's usually used to dismiss one idea in favor of another. Kennedy gave a very, very famous chiasmus when he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." Epizeuxis, and incidentally, I just find that really fun to say, epizeuxis. Anyway, epizeuxis is where you repeat a word several times for emphasis. An easy example would be if we were to say, "I hate getting together with my family at Thanksgiving. As soon as we sit around the table, all anyone does is fight, fight, fight." That fight, fight, fight is the epizeuxis. Metaphor. Now, this is a device that I didn't actually include in my book, but I'm adding it here in the video. Metaphor is a figure of speech where you use one thing to represent something else, and this is a big umbrella term. Many other rhetorical devices fall under the metaphor category. Metonymy, where you refer to a person or a thing using one of their attributes or characteristics. So the expression, "the pen is mightier than the sword," is a metonymy. Pen refers to all written words, and sword refers to all military or physically violent activities. So by using these two very specific things, a pen denoting the written word and sword denoting violence, they're saying that things that are written down can be more powerful in the long run than military action. Paraphrases. This is a really fun one. Paraphrasis is using a description to identify a person or a thing rather than saying their name outright. In J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series, most wizards called the villain Lord Voldemort, "he who must not be named," because saying his name was taboo. They used a paraphrasis to refer to him instead of using his name directly. Paraphrasis is often used to speak about things that are distasteful or sensitive, but it can also be used to give someone an aura of grandeur. It's very effective that way. So we could describe a monarch as being the crown. That would be a paraphrasis. And finally, we have syncresis. This is using a parallel clause or phrase, that's two pieces of a sentence that are structured in a similar way, to contrast two ideas. It's really catchy and memorable. Hillary Clinton used a syncresis during the 2016 presidential debates when she quoted Michelle Obama as having said, "When they go low, you go high." So you get those two parallel sentence structures, those two parallel bits of a sentence that give a contrasting idea. Now, like I said, I know that's a whole lot of terms, so I've put them all along with their definitions in the description down below. We're about to start watching the speech. Yes, finally, I know. But before we get going, I do want to remind you of something really important. This is about rhetoric. It's about how we're using words. It's not about a specific political ideology or belief or political ethics or anything like that. So as with all pop-up rhetoric videos, for you to really start to see the tactics and the strategies behind the words, you need to lay aside your political leanings and just focus in on what it is they're saying. Easier said than done, I know, because these topics are often really controversial and polarizing, but give it a go and you will get a lot out of these videos. So, without further ado, let's ring the proverbial boxing ring bell and watch this excellent excerpt of The Ladies Not for Turning.
If spending money like water was the answer to our country's problems, we would have no problems now. Because if ever a nation has spent and spent again, ours has. And today that dream is over. All that money has got us nowhere, but it still has to come from somewhere. and those who urge us to relax the squeeze, to spend yet more money indiscriminately in the belief that will help the unemployed and the small businessman, are not being kind or compassionate or caring. They're not the friends of the unemployed or the small business. They are asking us to do again the very thing that caused the problems in the first place. Yeah. Now, we've made these points repeatedly. Indeed, Mr. Chairman, I'm accused of lecturing or preaching about them. I suppose it's a critic's way of saying, well, we know it's true, but we've got to carpet something. I don't care about that, but I do care about the future of free enterprise, the jobs and exports it provides, and the independence it brings to our people. Independence? Yes, but let us be clear what we mean by that. Independence doesn't mean contracting out of all relationships with others. A nation can be free, but it won't stay free for long if it has no friends and no alliances. Above all, it won't stay free if it can't pay its own way in the world. And by the same token, an individual needs to be part of a community and to feel that he is part of it. There's more to this than the chance to earn a living for himself and his family, essential though that is. Of course, our vision and our aims go far beyond the complex arguments of economics, but unless we get the economy right, we shall deny our people the opportunity to share that vision and to see beyond the narrow horizons of economic necessity. Without a healthy economy, we can't have a healthy society. And without a healthy society, the economy won't stay healthy for long. Mr. Chairman, but it isn't the state that creates a healthy society. For when the state grows too powerful, people feel that they count for less and less. The state drains society not only of its wealth, but of initiative, of energy, the will to improve and innovate, as well as to preserve what is best. But our aim is to let people feel that they count for more and more. If we can't trust the deepest instincts of our people, we shouldn't be in politics at all. And Mr. Chairman, great schools and universities don't make a great nation any more than great armies do. Because only a great nation can create and involve great institutions of learning, of healing, of scientific advance. And a great nation is the voluntary creation of its people. A people composed of men and women whose pride in themselves is founded on the knowledge of what they can give to a community, of which they in turn can be proud. If our people feel that they are part of a great nation, and they're prepared to will the means to keep it great, then a great nation we shall be and shall remain. So, Mr. Chairman, what could stop us from achieving this? What then stands in our way? The prospect of another winter of discontent? I suppose it might. But I prefer to believe that certain lessons have been learned from experience, that we're coming slowly, painfully, to an autumn of understanding, and I hope it will be followed by a winter of common sense. If it isn't, we shall not be diverted from our course. To those waiting with bated breath for that favourite media catchphrase, the U-turn, I have only one thing to say. U-turn if you want to. The ladies not for turning. And I say that not only to you, but to our friends overseas as well, and also to those who are not our friends.
So I'll admit it, I really love going over this speech because the thrust and the parry that's happening here is fantastic. Now, next time you're watching an argument of any kind, whether it's a scripted one in a movie, one in real life, definitely one in the political arena, such as political debates or speeches, watch out for these strategies and tactics, and for strategies and tactics that are similar to them, because you'll start seeing how people use these kinds of tactics to build up their own arguments and to fluster their opponents. Keeping an eye out for them will help you become a better critical thinker overall, but certainly a more dexterous and nimble arguer and negotiator. Now, if you want more rhetorical goodness, please check out the other videos in my pop-up rhetoric video series, and you can definitely also check out my book, The Handy Communication Answer Book. This analysis, as well as others, are included in this book, and you can find out lots more, including things like Cicero's Canons of Rhetoric that we discussed at the beginning of this video, tips and tricks on public speaking, how to prepare presentations, business communication, and a whole lot more. It's available in bookstores and online. I've included links down below. And I'd like to give a shout out to my publishers at Visible Ink Press, who kindly allowed me to take some of the content from this book so that I could make these videos and share it with you. Did you like this video? If so, please like it, share it with others, and make sure you subscribe to my channel so that you can stay up to date on all things public speaking. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of Pop-Up Rhetoric, and I look forward to seeing you soon.